thank you again for coming to the third Brown Bag Lecture Series. My name is Sylvia Stelly. I am the chairperson for the mayor's team on community diversity and inclusion. The mission of our committee is, it is based upon volunteers, so you're more than welcome to be a part of this committee if this is a passion of yours. And we welcome volunteers. It's community people within our own sector here that volunteer their time to meet once a month on Tuesdays from 10:30 to about 11:30. And what do we deal with? We deal with community issues on diversity and inclusion. How do we change? How do we foster awareness? How do we deal with things that we're now confronting every day in our lives? And Lake Charles is not exempt from this, you know, although we're very small compared to big major cities, we are seeing a more diverse population coming in, and we do need to kind of foster awareness. How do we deal with certain issues? So the mission statement for the leadership team is to foster awareness, understanding, sensitivity, and respect for diversity and cultural harmony right here in the city of Lake Charles. So I would like to now take this opportunity to acknowledge the team that we currently have. I will start with myself, Sylvia Stelly, Miss Marjorie Harrison. She's with the Calcasieu Libraries in Central. Where's Central School? No, Central Downtown. I always get that all mixed up. Central Library. Mr. Brandon Jones, he's affiliated with the Disability Committee. Ms. Dina Jordan, she is our secretary. She keeps our minutes up to date. She keeps our emails going. She is wonderful. We wouldn't be here today without her helping to keep us together. And then we have Ms. Esther Vincent, who just came in, and she is obviously Esther Vincent, well known in the community, well known, and she is our city liaison. So everything we do goes through Ms. Vincent and goes to the mayor. So we do not do anything independently on our own. We have our channels that we go through. And so without further ado, I will introduce to you our guest speaker today. And our guest speaker has been on the committee, and dear friend and close, he's Dr. Michael Snowden. He is employed by McNeese State University as the Chief Diversity Officer in the Office of Equal Opportunity. He is married to LaRonda Snowden and is the father of 3 children. He is a native of Mobile, Alabama, received his degrees from the University of Southern Mississippi, which included an undergraduate degree in business administration, a Master of Education degree, and a Doctorate of Philosophy degree. His professional affiliations include the National Association of Diversity Officers in Higher Education, the American Association for Access, Equity, and Diversity, and the local Toastmasters International Club 1225. In 1996, he was initiated into the Hattiesburg alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi. Michael has received acknowledgments for his efforts in his professional and civil work, including the Bobby E. Leach Award from the Southern Association for College Student Affairs for significant contribution in the development of multicultural relations on campus, the Armstrong Atlantic State University Advisor of the Year Award, the AAASU Student Government Association Student Service Award, and the Kappa Man of the Year from Savannah Alumni Chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi. Michael strives to be a positive force in whatever endeavor he undertakes, and he is committed to working with higher education institutions to contribute to the continued growth process. His motto is, if I can help somebody as I travel along, then my living shall not be in vain. And I can attest to his participation in our committee. He has been actively involved, never misses a meeting, and he's a great asset to the community, to the committee and the community. And so we welcome him today. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is delightful to see you all. I did not expect such a robust crowd, but I want to thank everybody that took time out today to be a part of this presentation. I want to thank the people from the Panhellenic Council, all my Greeks in the house. I want to thank people from Magnice that have come out, and anybody else that wants to learn a little bit about Black history. So let me see if I can get myself situated here, and then we'll get started. I may need to move this just a hair, see if I can reach. Okay, all right. So we're looking at Black history, celebrating the pride, the pageantry, and the perseverance. Now, before I get started, I want to give you a disclaimer. I'm not a trained historian. I did not stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. The National Museum of African American History has over 37,000 artifacts, documents, photographs, and media. So don't think I will cover it all in less than 1 hour. Last but certainly not least, I'm not speaking on behalf of McNeese State University. These are my thoughts, independent of my job, because I like my job. Pays my mortgage. There's an African proverb, and the African proverb comes from a story. There's a son and a father out in the field. And the son asked the father a question. He says, "Dad, I've heard all these great stories about lions and hunters. Why does the lion never win in the story?" And the father looks up at him and he says, "Until the story of the hunt is told by the lion, the tale of the hunt will always glorify the hunter." Now, some of y'all will get that right now, some of y'all catch that on the way home. The three areas that I thought were instrumental in Black history are pride, pageantry, and perseverance. As I didn't know who might be here, I wanted to give us a little context to what we wanted to talk about by giving you a definition of pride. And of course, pride is a feeling of deep pleasure or satisfaction derived from one's own achievements, the achievements of those with whom you are closely associated, and from qualities or possessions that are widely admired. The first profile in pride that I wanted to talk to you about today is Carter G. Woodson. Now, Carter G. Woodson was born in 1875 and lived to 1950. He's considered the father of Black History Month. In 1996, he and the Association of the Study of Negro Life pioneered Negro History Week. Now, this is an interesting little tidbit. If you talk to some people on the street, and we all have the street committee, they will say, "Man, why did they give Black folks February? They must have gave it to us because it's the shortest month in the year." That is not true. February was used as the month or the week of Negro History Week because that was the birth dates that culminated Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. Now, Black History Month was designated in 1969 at Kent State University, and it was founded by the Black United Students and the Black educators. Carter had a quote that I'd like to read to you. He says, we should emphasize not Negro history, but the Negro in history. What we need is not a history of selected races or nations, but the history of the world, void of national bias, race hate, and religious prejudice." He said that in 1926. The next profile in pride that I will talk about is Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey was born in 1887, and he died in 1940. He was a proponent of black nationalism in Jamaica and the United States. He was a leader of the mass movement calling Pan-Africanism. Because of him, schools, colleges, highways, and buildings in Africa and Europe bear his name in his honor. His quote, "A people without the knowledge of their past, history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots." The next profile in Pride is W.E.B. Du Bois. He was a founding member of the NAACP. He was a prolific author. He also espoused the term the talented tenth, and that is a philosophy that described the likelihood that one of every 10 black men would become leaders. That was accepted and rejected by some scholars at the time, and to this day is still rejected and accepted. His quote was, "I believe in pride of race and lineage, and self in pride, and self so deep as to scorn injustice to ourselves." As we transition from pride to pageantry, pageantry means elaborate display or ceremony. Now, black people believe in pomp and circumstance. Now, the last 20 years or so, we've kind of got out, we've been a little more casual. But you couldn't tell me back in the 70s, man, people would get everything together and they would put those programs on, and it would be to the T. You would have ABC, and you have a certain way to do everything. And if you stepped out of line, if you were a child, you might, yeah, you know, we can't talk about that anymore. But y'all know what I'm talking about. So one of the things I wanted to profile was a song, "Lift Every Voice and Sing." It was actually written by James Weldon Johnson. It was performed as a poem for the celebration of Abraham Lincoln's birthday. Now, it was set to music by John Rosamond Johnson in 1905. And interestingly enough, got one more thing to say, okay. The NAACP in 1919 dubbed the song the Negro National Anthem for its power in voicing the cry for liberation and affirmation for African American people. The next profile in pageantry goes to Madam C.J. Walker. After losing her hair, she developed a line of African American hair care products. Now, she became known as the first American woman self-made millionaire. And she was also known as a philanthropist for making a large donation, and also for a large donation for the construction of a YMCA in Indianapolis. Her quote, "I had to make my own living and my own opportunities, but I made it. Don't sit down and wait for the opportunity to come. Get up and make them." Another custom that was introduced in slavery. At that time, slaves were not allowed to have legal wedding ceremonies. But what they did was a concept called jumping the broom. And it was a custom that signified that once you jumped the broom, you were connected to this person as your lifelong partner. Now, it's interesting, I couldn't find the quote, but I remember someone saying that we actually modified this procedure. You notice the broom is on the ground. And I can't verify this, but I was told by the street committee that the broom used to be 2.5 feet off the ground. Now, that was a hell of a jump. And if you made that jump, you were definitely gonna stay with that person for the rest of your life. Another profile in pageantry is a zoot suit. So zoot suits were first associated with African Americans in urban communities such as Harlem, Chicago, and Detroit, but were made popular by jazz musicians in the 40s. Anybody know who that picture is? Cab Calloway, yep. Another profile of pageantry that we thought that I have noticed all my life, being raised by associated with a grandmother out of the Baptist church, got to have a church hat. And church hats during and after slavery, black maids and black women that worked as servants, they broke away from their uniforms. And so this was their time to show their personal identity and their black individualism. And it's interesting that since that time, church hats have gotten bigger and bigger and bolder and bigger. Sometimes you can't even sit behind somebody if they got on a church hat. And the last profile in fashion. Now, how did that get in there? Some fashions weren't great, but we still made a big deal about them and how we dress. Perseverance. Perseverance means the continued effort to do or achieve something difficult despite difficulties, failure, or opposition. So I picked four people to be perseverance champions. My first perseverance champion was Thurgood Marshall, born in 1908, and he died in 1993. He argued several cases for the NAACP. His most famous, the Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas. And he also became the first black Supreme Court justice. Another perseverance champion